Hi there, I'm Andre, and welcome to the FrameMaker tool. I'm going to do just a quick overview of the main functionalities of the tool. So once you log in, you're going to arrive at this page where you will find I'm going to populate some videos here with more in-depth content. And you should do a full screen there, and now you have complete access to some of the menus. And by default, you will have a front frame that is already loaded. I'm going to load an alternative DXF file and wait for it to update. And I'm going to explain in a second what are the conditions for that DXF file. So there's the uploaded model, automated, and some conditions. You should upload only DXF files, and for the front, that would be 3 curves, the outline and 2 lenses. And I would ask or advise that you keep as neat distribution of points as possible, and avoid any overlapping points or duplicate points or open curves. These curves should be closed. The application will try to correct those issues, but sometimes that will be impossible given the enormous the variation of platforms and softwares that are used to create this DXF. So you could be using Illustrator, you could be using Rhino, Fusion, Inkscape. I've heard so many, and each one exports a DXF in a different way. So also avoid sometimes DXF will export in line segments. So choose curves. And another important condition is to keep either the ends of the temples and the end piece straight, so vertical straight, and avoid any fillets. So this would be wrong. These fillets would be an issue, and angled, the end of the temple at an angle will also be an issue. And for the temple, you should only upload one curve, one closed curve like so, but you can choose to have it straight, like in this case, or bent. Either of those will work, and you can choose to match. It would be advisable to try to match this if that were the case. So back to the tool. Um, Going to the front, I'm going to go back to the default temple. Sorry, to the default front. And I can, for example, my file was drawn with a 46 lens, but I can choose to add to that lens size, let's say 2 millimeters, and you will see that it will update right here. So that is now 48, and I can play also with the DBL. So what this allows me is to correct the model on the fly and not go back and redo my drawing. That's the main benefit. And let's go to temples, and by default you will have no temples. I will upload, let's say, a straight temple. So this temple has been drawn straight, and I will have to indicate if my original drawing is bent or if it is straight. In my case, I know that it was straight, and I have to indicate that here. So here it says, is your DXF bent or straight? No, mine is straight. So I'll say that there. And what this will allow is these other configurations for the bend. So I will go in depth on that when I talk about the temple, but all in all, what this will give you is what I call a template. So this is a rough, it's a very consistent geometry, but it's a rough, let's say, template for a frame that you can continue working on. So maybe your skills are advanced, so you've gotten halfway here, and you can now download this as a Rhino file or as a step file that you can import, let's say, to Fusion, and continue working. And you will have this condition where this temple point and end piece point are coincident, and also this one down here. The line, not necessarily, because the front is based on a curve, on a lens curve, so it's curved. These are not two straight lines, but these 2 points will be coincident. So you can continue working. As you can see, the temple is just an extrusion that you will probably want to keep on developing. Also, the end piece, which is so different, and there will be so many different solutions depending on the designer or brand or manufacturer, and that's why this is a good starting point where you can continue to develop. You can add nose pads. I will go into that in depth a bit later also. maybe you don't need the pads, but if you need them, there they are, and you have some tweaks. And finally, we can do a quick render. This will just add a solid color, but we can also add a texture in the texture slot right there. And we can also add the lens. We can also download different file types that I will go into later, but you can download also the lens file within these formats. And finally, I would just add the sharp edges. So if I want to keep on working with this, I would keep the sharp edges. But if I want to maybe do a quick render on the screen, I would add some roundings just for appearance. Any error messages, any conflicts with the files that you upload will give some kind of error message. And if you cannot work around that, just send me an email and I will try to help you as soon as possible. So if I go back to render, those edges are now going to be round and soft, and they're going to shine much nicer. And this is better for, let's say, sharing with colleagues or whatever. So there's an array of tools and of enhancements that you can use to assist you in your prototyping stage. Of course, the 3MF file format will be perfect for 3D printing if that were the case as well. Any questions, just send me an email, and thanks.